Yeah.
It's important. Especially today, right?
Okay, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Monday, February 17th, 10 a.m. This is a special meeting slash workshop. Excuse me. Okay, if you would please join me in a prayer and then the pledge of allegiance. Father, we come before you this morning asking your guidance and your leading in the affairs of the city, Father. Thank you for your wisdom. Lord, we pray over our city and over our first responders, all those that protect us, including our national security. And we just thank you, Lord, for protecting the men and women that protect us. And we just thank you so much for that. And Lord, we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ms. Burke, if you do the roll call.
Hold on one second. Mayor Pittman,
Here.
Vice Mayor Highslope,
Here.
Commissioner Edmonds,
Here.
Commissioner Gardner,
Here.
Commissioner Williams,
Here.
City Manager Williams,
Here.
City Attorney Brandenburg.
Present on the phone.
Yes,
Okay.
you have a quorum, Mayor.
I always want to say here when they say Williams.
Right?
Here. Thank goodness for him.
Okay, are there any additions, deletions to the agenda?
No changes, Mayor.
Okay, we have a presentation first this morning from Renee Jadwish. I probably butchered that name, sorry. She's the Executive Director of the City of Delray Beach and has graciously agreed to help us this morning just with kicking off our new, I'm going to call it the new CRA, the revamped CRA, and she's been doing this a long time, just has a 15-minute presentation. So is she on? What are we, she
She's
going to
on,
be on?
sir. Can you hear us, Renee?
Yes, I can. I'm here.
Okay. So you can have the floor, and then Mayor and Commissioner, if you all have any questions for Renee, feel free to ask them.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Renee.
Thank you. Good morning. Yes, so Renee Jadising. I'm the Executive Director of the Delray Beach Community Redevelopment Agency, and I'm also the President of the Florida Redevelopment Association. So prior to coming to Delray, I was the in-house counsel for the Overtown CRA, Overtown Park West CRA in Miami. So I do have some pretty large CRA experience in addition to being an attorney. So my time in Overtown got like a deep dive into the Florida statutes and how CRAs work, and then coming to Delray as assistant director, then executive director, kind of opened up a whole other spectrum with redevelopment agency leadership. And then lucky enough to be elected the president of the FRA this year. So I just wanted to get a brief overview with CRAs. I've been talking with your city clerk, who has been fantastic, by the way, and very eager in this area of learning what CRAs are, because it's very unique. And I feel that it's an important tool when used correctly for cities and counties to really transform their areas. So as you may be familiar, CRAs are a public body corporate. It's a separate, distinct agency from the governing body. So the governing body would be the city and county that created the CRA. And it's under the Florida Statutes, Chapter 163, Part 3. CRAs are also a dependent special district, so we're kind of like the child underneath the city or the county. So we do still have some connection to city and county, but legally, structure-wise, we're a separate district or a separate agency altogether. Some CRAs are a department of the city. I believe Clewiston is like that. Some, like the ones that I'm familiar with, are actually a separate agency altogether. So hire their own executive director staff, such as myself and Delray, and fully employ their own staff and just work in conjunction with the city. So in either structure, whether you're a department or you're a an agency, I think it's really important to document the interaction of the two between the city or county and the CRA so that there's no overlap. So in Delray, we have a lot of interlocal agreements that are really important so that things are delineated from what is funding from the city, funding from the CRA, so that there's no crossing of the two. When you're working with CRAs, you want to make sure that they are in addition to what the city is doing. It's not supposed to supplant or substitute for what the city could normally do, because you find that often where cities and counties, sorry, commission and mayor, well, hey, CRA got us money. Let's go ahead and see if we can have them do this project and that project. But that's where you run into issues. And I will say Delray, and back in 2012-13, was written up by the Florida Auditor General for having some issues. And a lot of CRAs did. I think that's also a great resource to dig into issues that some CRAs have had with how they're doing their funding or operations. Is look at the Auditor General reports, because there's a ton. When we had that situation in Delray, before I got there, I'll say, that was one of the write-ups, was that you want to make sure that what you're doing is not substituting for what the city should be doing. So I always like to make that really, really clear in budgeting, because it's so easy, especially if you're a CRA that's just a department. It's like, hey, we have access to everyone's budget. Let's just shift money here, there, and there. But that's where you run into issues when you're not being careful with making sure that that money is not doing what the city should normally do. So I always look at it as like, hey, the city's doing this baseline. Anything the CRA is doing should be above and beyond. So if the city baseline is a plastic trash can, the CRA wants to do the metal, you do some cost sharing. Look at what it could be to pay for this plastic, and maybe the CRA gives a little on top of to do an addition, not to supplant or substitute what the city would be doing. Another important change that I just wanted to highlight is back in 2019, there was a big change to the statutes for what CRAs can and cannot fund. So before that, there used to be a section of the statute that says the CRAs can do certain things, including but not limited to, and there was a whole laundry list of things. On a big perspective, CRAs can contract, we can buy, sell property, demolish buildings, help improve parks, streetscapes, and other types of rehabilitations, planning studies, surveys, policing innovations. But with that including but not limited to, there was a lot of leeway for people to come up with different projects. Or I know a lot of CRAs kind of get swept up with economic development and things like that. But if you look at the statute actually does not talk directly about economic development, although what CRAs do affects economic development within your city. So another example in Delray is we have programs that help with business assistance, but we strictly are very clear about having it be for building. So if they want a build out grant or paint up and signage, that's a great program that we have that helps businesses improve the exterior of their building, but not anything on the interior. So when the statute changed in 2019, it took out that including but not limited to. So it just provided a list of things the CRA can do and the list. And it gave you that whole list of things, which really had everyone had to scratch their heads and say, oh, wait, what are we doing? And I will say, because it was during 2020 when this happened, 2019, 2020, everyone kind of took a minute to really digest what that meant. But over the last couple of years with the Florida Redevelopment Association, we've been very, very keen on making sure that our CRAs are getting the information about what those changes were and that they're implementing them properly. And we try to be a resource as much as we can. So when that little language came out of including but not limited to, yes, it did restrict kind of some of the creative ways of doing things. And I'm all for the creative ways as well. I think, again, our CRA is a great resource that when used correctly, just makes such a huge impact. But when you look at that laundry list, it's still pretty large. It has the planning study still, buying, selling property, assisting with affordable housing, community policing initiatives, improving streetscapes, public parks, accepting grants, policing innovation. So it's still a really robust list. And there's different areas in the statute you can look and say, okay, you find a way to make things make sense, basically make legal sense. But I think it just takes a little bit more work. And what we've been really trying to push at the Florida Redevelopment Association is just documenting that. Like, look, anything you do, look at the statute, find your references of why you're doing this, and then there you go. So you don't have to like be worrying as you go forward thinking, should I do this, should we not? You already have the justification when you start a project or a program, and you don't have to think about it later. So another thing that I'll just touch on briefly is redevelopment plans. So once the CRA is created, which you guys obviously have yours, you have to have a redevelopment plan by statute. And that plan you should update every 5 or so years. There's no requirement necessarily in the statute, but it does say whatever you want to do needs to be in your budget, needs to be in your plan. And I like to add it needs to be in the statute. So when we're looking to do something, we look, did we budget it? Then we go to our redevelopment plan. Is it in our plan? And then my little add-on, where is the justification in the statute? And once you have all those 3 things covered, you can go forward with whatever project you're trying to do without that worry of like, oh, should we do this? Should we not? And uncertainty. It just gives you an extra level of comfort when you're doing your projects. So that's kind of like big picture overview. And I just had a brief 15 minutes. I just want to leave time for questions as well. But just that kind of a big picture of what CRAs are and how CRAs are structured.
Okay,
Have any
well, thank
questions?
you. Any questions from the commission?
I do. Renee, what's your most successful plan that you've had that you've been a part of there in Delray?
Oh, well,
Or project?
so
I'm
many.
sorry.
So project wise, we have let me think, that Delray's been very fortunate to have quite a bit of successful projects under our belt well before my time. But since I've been there, we've really been focusing in on to call it the West Atlantic, the Sut neighborhood, but it's the neighborhood that really is in need of a lot of attention. So while we have like larger redevelopment, large scale projects, like we have 7 acres that we've been trying to develop, some of these bigger projects, what we did a few years ago is really started to focus it on land that we have that we could actually redevelop and build and keep for a certain period of time that we can then rent out for businesses, renovate the buildings, rent them out to small businesses to help them sustain themselves. Eventually, it's something that we would look to sell or an asset that would go to the city. But I think that's been a huge success to help support our local businesses, small business community, while also the ancillary benefit of redeveloping a property. Instead of having a developer or waiting for a developer, we're fortunate enough to have that flexibility where we were investing. There's 2 in particular that we're doing right now. One, we turned into a co-working space with 5 commercial bays on the ground floor. And another one, we're actually building ground up that we're trying to build we're building a medical building there. So that's our hopes, is that we attract some medical facilities because there aren't doctors in this area that we're really trying to focus on. So I think those like kind of smaller things, I think have been really successful, even though, yes, the bigger ones, the 7 acres is going to be amazing. It's going to be wonderful when we have that. We built an iPic movie theater, and that's, off and doing fantastic. But some of these smaller projects that we've been focusing on have had a really big impact on the community.
And the cost of those projects, Renee, I'm just curious because it sounds great, but I was just
Sounds
with
like
our
those are
budget.
small.
What are we talking about?
Well, the rehab that we're doing, renovation building with the co-working space and the ground floor base was about $3 million.
Okay.
And the ground up construction was about the same, which we paid for with cash. We took a couple fiscal years because when I started, actually, interestingly enough, a lot of our funding, I would say 80-90% was going towards things with the city. So we fund the Clean and Safe program with the city. So that's 10 police officers or 14 at this point, downtown maintenance workers, and also code enforcement. It's like an enhanced team that's in the downtown area only. But so we're doing that. We have a lot of infrastructure projects that we're doing with the city. Almost 80-90% of our budget was allocated to projects like that, or positions that are funded by the city. So we kind of did a huge revamp to say, hey, hold on, there's other things that we need to do. So while our budget looks really large, a lot of it was going to those projects, especially infrastructure, which is important, but we're also trying to really transform a community. So we took a couple fiscal years, even though our budget looks great, we wouldn't have been able to pay the $3 million in cash out of 1 year the way we were structured a few years ago. Now, every year we put aside funds for those smaller projects. So it took us a couple years to get there, but now we have funding fully. One is already built or renovated, and the new construction is funded and it'll be completed in the summer.
Okay, and I have one more question. As president of FRA, what rural community have you seen that has really just perfected their CRA projects?
Well, I would say that Dunedin is an excellent example. We actually just had our conference in Tampa in October, and we took a bus tour to Dunedin, and they're like the mighty city that could. I mean, they really took their time over the years and implemented their plan. And they did a really good job of building infrastructure, building the streetscape, building the downtown, and investing in businesses. So they're a really good example. There's a lot in the Panhandle. I think Lake Park is another one they're one of our board members, so that's off the top of my head. But over the last couple of years, we really tried to also get participation on the FRA just in general. Either we have spots for elected officials on our board, and then also just for staff members. So we've had a lot of interest in Panhandle CRAs because we get that comment all the time, like everything's geared towards large CRAs, but it's really not. There's a lot of things that our small CRAs can benefit from. So there's a few in the Panhandle. Again, I don't have them off the top of my head, but I know they're doing really great things, even with the smaller budgets. But Dunedin is one that stands out because we just went there for our tour, and it's fantastic. They've done a really great job.
Thank you so much, Renee, and congratulations on being the president. Appreciate your help today.
Thank you, of course. Happy to help.
Anyone else?
Thank you so much, Renee. I truly appreciate it. You taking the time out today to come speak with us. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Have a good day, everyone. Have a good meeting.
You too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, good information.
Well, the good news I can add to that is we're at $2 million rather than 1.5. So
Nice.
we have a little bit of money to play with.
Nice.
Yeah.
Filled with.
Well, yeah. Well, I was excited until I heard they're $3 million.
Well, yeah, no, I knew I was trying to figure out the scope of it because it sounded really good, but wow, they're a big city
think,
compared to
uh,
us.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of money for us, though.
Yeah,
We could do a
absolutely.
lot. Just riding through and looking at some of our buildings, and I think you guys put a pretty good team together, so we'll announce that next Monday. I won't say anything.
Okay. Well, we will move on to the regular meeting. We have Resolution 2025-08 approving the allocation of $300,000 from the CRA. And if I'll ask the city manager to.
Yeah, Lynn, if you want to speak a little bit about it, I'm talking to Mello, if you don't mind. But anyway, Mello's office asked if we would do this match. And of course, 300,000 is what we came up with. And that is for our appropriations, which again, I sent you guys. We got all 4 past the Mello office, so it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah, that's
pretty much it, right?
everything in a nutshell.
You have to talk in the mic, Lynn.
Well, it is for
Feel like
the
I'm being
8-inch.
attacked here.
This particular one is for the alleyway, the 8-inch, so,
Yeah, we have an existing 4-inch
yeah.
copper water main, and we would like to leverage CRA funds as a match for our appropriations request. We got feedback from Mello last week, that projects that didn't have match, particularly water projects, probably didn't have a very good chance of surviving past the governor's veto. And so we thought this would really boost our appropriations request from the legislature. It's a good project. It takes the 4-inch to an 8-inch PVC, and our fire marshal would, I think, second that it's needed.
So
It was-
That really falls in line with your CRA, because that spurs development. Without that, it's really difficult for your infill lots to be attracted to a developer when they have to spend such a large amount on fire flow. How you increase that infrastructure with that is definitely a CRA type project.
I have a question though, like based off of what Renee just mentioned to us, is that not us using like the CRA funds for something that the city should be funding? Or
No, she said that CRA, they did
cost
Fund
share with.
infrastructure, yes.
Yeah, cost
Okay.
share
Yeah.
infrastructure and other
Okay,
projects.
I
I
thought
think
she
more
was
than-
cautioning us to be careful, spending CRA monies on projects that like the city.
Yeah, I mean, but infrastructure is definitely one that we
Okay.
can.
And I do think,
Yeah.
I do think that's a good question, but we're not asking the CRA to just fund the project. We're asking to help leverage the CRA funds,
Yeah.
sort of
Well,
working
that's,
hand in hand.
That's not a request, but it's advisement from Mello's office that if you match, you have a much better chance.
Yes.
Correct. We actually heard that from Pasadamo
Yeah,
too.
we had heard it from several. Yeah,
And-
and in fact, at the meeting here, they both said that, the cost shares were very important with the budget cycle that they're getting ready to go through, because there was a lot of cuts in the budgets for this year. And I think that and I've picked up on that as well, but Renee did say the importance of cost sharing. So I think this is definitely a show of cost sharing, and the fact that it's something that needs to be upgraded, and it's in the CRA. It'll make a difference in being able to, even though it's not supposed to be about economic development, it does give the opportunity for folks to consider some of those lots that are vacant, and also the fact that,
It's good with your plan.
yeah, and that we're helping to improve. I mean, that 4 inches, how old?
50 plus.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
The 1930s, I think, is what the
Wow.
engineer said.
so.
Yeah.
That's not the only line. Okay.
Good quality though, right, Mayor? They've lasted a long time.
Oh, yeah. So Resolution 2025-08, by title, a resolution of the Community Redevelopment Agency Board funding the City of Clewiston Water Infrastructure Improvements Project will build long-term economic vitality for the CRA area, improving grant funding in the amount of $300,000, authorizing and appropriate city officials to execute the agreement, providing for severability, conflict, and effective date.
Move that we approve resolution number 2025-08.
Second, motion by Gardner, second by Edmonds. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 3 is discussion regarding the CRA, mission statement, mural projects, and goals. So do we want to wait to announce, have all the potential candidates been contacted?
Or they have not.
Okay, so we'll wait until, as you guys know, we abolished the old CRA, the board, everything, and reconstructed, rebuilt, and we do have 7 members that were chosen by the commission based on the applicants received. So next Monday at the regular meeting, we will, once they've been contacted and accepted their position, we will approve the 7 new members of the CRAB board,
The advisory board.
advisory board, yes. Okay, with that, is there any discussion on mission and vision statements?
Yeah, you asked that the CRA create a vision and mission statement, so I created them. If you could please review them and let me know if that's what you want, or if there's something different, we can change it to make sure that it is in place.
Where is that?
It's on the back of the
It's on the
page.
back.
Oh,
scan.
sorry.
I saved paper. I double-sided, sorry.
I like that.
So we could find it.
I like what you have
I do
here.
too.
I would, before we make it official, though, I would like our new board to also
Okay.
weigh in on it, if that's okay with everyone. I mean, we can make the final decision, but that'll give us time to kind of think about it too, before the next
Sure.
meeting. I don't know if guys, staff has looked at it yet, but Any input that staff has also would be welcome.
Look it over.
Yeah, we looked it over in staff meeting.
Yep.
Maybe, Travis, I mean, I heard you mentioned blight, if you could email that, maybe whatever wording you think to Danny and to Lakeisha, so that it would be good.
It looks great. I just had the,
Mm-hmm.
it speaks about what you're trying to accomplish in your CRA plan, with 200 pages. That was your number one tell to the public back then.
Okay,
That's what we're gonna do.
the blighted areas, yeah.
Get ready.
Okay, any more discussion on mission and vision? If not, we'll discussion on the mural project.
Mayor, I was just reviewing this letter or email that Danny received, and I guess I'm a little confused here about the projects that have already been. It says here that there's 2 projects that already been done through the EDC. So I just wasn't sure. First, I include the first 2 projects that were completed and showed the transition, but I don't know which projects we're talking about. Y'all, have you,
Is it the one on the youth center?
no,
Yeah,
no, the youth center was
No, the
separate.
youth center
That
is
was to the
separate.
Sugar Festival.
I think most of that, Molly, is discussions.
Okay, well, she says projects that were complete, for the first 2 projects that were completed. And so I'm just trying to think if it's projects by actual paperwork, like there's guidelines. I mean, there's 4 up here, property owner training and toolkit. Is that one of the projects? Do we know? Does anybody know? Because I haven't seen anything. Have you all seen anything in P and Z?
No.
So I'm a little confused of what was accomplished.
I think that's why we're starting over, Mayor. Or Commissioner. I think things were being kind of
Okay.
ran behind the scenes and
Okay.
Yeah, they kind of, the only thing that they say in here is that they did the chamber logo. That was the only thing that it says.
No, I think what that's saying is that on some of these documents, the chamber logo is a placeholder because they weren't sure which entity would be taking lead.
right.
So I just think we need clarification because,
Right.
Well, I can tell you nothing's been done.
Okay.
There was meetings that I stopped attending.
Like this.
Yeah.
This procedures for like a paint grant or whatever.
Right.
Oh, yeah. They put that logo there
oh, I see what you're saying.
just as a
Okay.
placeholder,
Yeah.
but that's not a chamber document.
So you'll contact EDC and let them know we're
Yep.
revamped and
Yep.
anything really in the past is probably trash can.
Yep.
Told you we're going to start over.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll have an update. I don't know if we'll have an update about the murals by Monday, but if not, that's okay. You guys may, as you meet as a new board, can maybe make that one of your first projects, because I know it's kind of an ongoing, we've talked about it quite a bit.
I mean, there's some information in here, and I guess I'm confused because they bring up Ventura Avenue, but wasn't that a project we funded through working with our engineers and?
Yeah.
And
This-
the funding that came in through Mario Diaz-Balart's office?
Yep.
So I'm a little, we got a lot of information here, but it just doesn't seem like it's been
Has
put
not been-
together
no.
well. So, yeah, you haven't, okay, so I think it needs, I agree with the mayor, it needs to be all reviewed and then, we need to start over here.
I think, like I tell everyone, look that way, don't look back.
Okay.
So, like I said,
And it
it's
was,
old news.
I mean, in all honesty, that's exactly what we did, was abolish everything and start from scratch.
Right.
So, I mean, come Monday when we appoint the new board, everything will get built from the ground up. So this is kind of irrelevant information.
it was put in the agenda because she asked that you all be aware of it.
Right.
And again, when the new board meet, we would look at it, because there may be something that, why create it again if it's already there? But again, it'll be up to the new board and the goals that you all set for us.
Right.
But even if you look at this year one wrap up and year two discussion, you talked about the Ventura part, the gateway signage. I feel like our signage on either end of town is not old.
No.
And
I
it's
mean,
not-
that was just approved by the DOT less than 2 years ago.
It's not
Yeah.
junky or anything. And then branding refinement, I think Lakeisha's been doing in-house. I'm sure working with, others, but
I mean, I agree. I think Lakeisha giving the time to review it and then look at the advisory board and let's just, I mean, this is information that they've been working on since 2022.
Yeah.
But it's the first time I've seen it. I've not seen any of this.
Okay.
So,
Right.
and so I just, I think I
That's why
agree
we're
with
here
Commissioner
today, and
Williams,
That's why we're.
starting over, okay?
Yeah, we're gonna build this thing from the ground up and get it rolling the right way. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there was no money in there for years, so it wasn't ran right. So I think the abolishment in the last meeting was the right thing to do, and we're heading,
Well, just, I
This
don't know
looks
if the
great.
EDC has set any money aside, so they'll need to know that also.
Sure.
That,
Even just looking at this picture kind of blows my mind. You're not used to seeing the street like that. I'm on it every day. This looks great.
okay,
one
items,
more question.
Yes.
Was that a separate, when Jason brought up the street, like we have seen the street like this?
You were
this
shown
is-
that alone, yeah.
Well,
a while
we were
back.
shown the street from the rendering from the DOT.
That's what I was wondering, was this
And
the
then
same
And then our
project
engineer,
or?
but I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
I feel like it's the same concept
Right.
though. So, yeah, we have,
Duplication, yeah.
okay,
Okay.
sorry.
oh, no problem. Item C is the goals that the board would like for the Community Redevelopment Agency to accomplish. I think there's going to be several. We can bring those to the meeting on Monday.
Yeah.
But I think we should prioritize, because we can make a list of 10 or 12 or 15, I'm sure.
I think the importance that we talked about at the last workshop was the pockets of money. I mean, like, for this, there's the facade grants, the facade and the painting. And then there's a bigger chunk of money for some of the redevelopment that we need to help with. But also the demolition, I think, is important because of the fact that we do have, some very dated buildings that probably in areas, blighted areas, that need to be looked at. And I know that we've only done some matches. We haven't even, we don't fund the full projects on anything. And so I think that's important for those goals to be brought back to us. And aesthetics, I think that we still are, even though we have the Main Street, and I think, it needs to be married with the Main Street Corridor Plan because it is a CRA. And I think that to me is I've said this for a long time, it's our front porch. It's what everybody sees before they decide they want to come on in when they're coming through.
Well, and even in the future, like the lady from Del Rey said, they had city property that they turned into different projects
Right.
and then leased it out, and then that money goes back into the CRA.
I immediately thought about the police department building.
Yeah.
I was thinking
Yeah.
about that old CPAC building down there.
CPAC
Oh,
also.
CPAC building down there, yeah.
That whole lot.
Yeah, that whole, the opportunities there, yeah.
Well, there may be an opportunity for the city to buy the little lot in back of that and then turn the whole thing into a
Right.
project. So, there's different ways,
I
a
was
lot
just-
of ideas that we can do, yeah.
There's a lot, and you got a lot of people that are interested.
So Lakeisha,
Sure, business people.
what do you need from us specifically?
Well, what I've heard, I really want it kind of concrete. What is it that you all want to see? And when I say that is, in the next 6 months, do you want to see the CRA actually take a building and create the facade? You also just said, hey, before you come, we want the plans in order. And how much we're going to give. Now I know, well, Lakeisha, when you get with the CRA, you all need to come and create, this is the facade, this is the paint, This is the demolition. So now we have something to work on. I just need concrete goals. I'm a goal person. I'm sorry. So, because don't leave me to my imagination. Because so when you have specifics that you want to see, to make sure that, okay, it is moving in the direction in which you want it to move, when we can show you concrete, then you can like, okay, that's the way. Because you may have something, and my vision may be totally different than your vision. And I'm off over here, and you like, wait, Lakeisha, we didn't ask for that. So that's why I mean, what concrete things is it that you all want to see and want this new board to accomplish?
I know for me, I just mentioned it, I think that we have to have, I mean, the blighted areas is you know, helping with the demolition of those areas. The facade grants for the improvements in the CRA, I think are important. And anything that we can do to enhance the Main Street corridor plan, that it marries the CRA plan, I think is important for the city.
Okay.
Yeah, Main Street.
And also hand in hand with all the projects we already, I mean, we have the Ventura Avenue project, we have the North Francisco project. I mean, marrying it all together.
The commercio, you know, doing the side streets.
Right, right.
That North
The
Francisco
repave-
project
And
is, that's a big one.
this may be a silly question coming from the clerk, but I haven't run up on them. Do anybody know where I can find the Main Street plan and the Ventura plan, so we can just kind of look at it? And then the CRA new board can kind of look at it and come up with ideas how we can marry these.
Get you the design, yeah.
Yeah, we have
them.
it's all here in-house, so I would think that there's copies from previous meetings. I just don't know the dates of those meetings that
Got
we
it.
approved them. But there's also, for the Main Street Corridor Plan, there was aesthetics that were included in a map that we've had here since 2014, I think. That I think there's several copies maybe back there in the files.
Okay.
That you could probably,
Probably still have some, right?
I don't know, a 10-year-old map. It might be time to redo that too.
yeah. Well, I mean, we did finally approve the plan, and so that was part of it. But yeah, there's a lot of good things that are in there.
And I think to Molly, or to Commissioner Gardner's point, like doing some of those aesthetic things that would marry all the
Okay.
areas together might not be quite as costly too. So those might be things that CRA can get done in a timely fashion, and you know, something that people see and they notice and they you know, feel the upgrade. And you know, I mean, not that no one will notice a facade upgrade, obviously they will, but it will also be a much larger chunk of that budget, you know.
You know, and I think also that she mentioned that there's some staffing that's included in CRA, and I don't know at what point, I mean, Randy would probably have to opine on this, but, I mean, to me, our downtown area and our main thoroughfare, as well as our main areas where people go to, I mean, I just got a text from somebody that says the letters are going up on Marshalls, you know, and so that's going to draw a lot of people to that area, and, you know, anything that's blighted as far as trash, as far as I'm concerned, you know, it can turn people away. So I don't know if that's something that, you know, I know that we're already doing some of that, but do we need to get a more enhanced focus on making sure that we're clean, you know, and we're vibrant when people come to visit us?
Oh, I get texted about that plaza.
We've got to
all the
hold the people that own these buildings more accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's got to be
And
a
that-
stricter lien or enforcement or something that
agree
we
with
can
that.
do.
Well, and also that maybe we need to look at the codes, and maybe when we look at blight, I mean, it's not just broken windows and plywood windows, which we have some of those already, but the maintenance in a parking lot, you know, when you have
Absolutely.
when there's
Number one.
potholes in a public parking lot, not the city of Clewiston's parking lots, but other parking lots, you know, those need to be looked at. Those need to be held accountable. So I think that there's the enforcement portion, but maybe we need to look at our ordinances to make sure that we're better at it than we have been.
I can set up a meeting with department heads and we
Okay.
can discuss that type of thing.
But I think the trash is, to me, it shows blight, you know, or when you have trailers that are parked that don't have tags. I know that our code is, we've got so much going on, I think, Danny, you told me that there's like 27 items on our code
20
enforcement
how many
coming up, so
tomorrow?
I think it's wonderful that we're, you know,
Oh, I'm going to add
22?
a couple of them
22?
on come
Okay.
Monday.
So, but when it comes to the CRA, so, anyway.
So are you suggesting that we look at maybe adding another player to the bench of
Well, or maybe
code
that we have,
enforcement?
or so that we have right now in or in the city cleaning crews or whatever, that they're doing multiple jobs, you know, and we found that out with our parks. When you do multiple jobs, you know, our parks are the last thing that gets noticed, but it's the first thing are the bathrooms, you know, at the lake. It's the first thing that our visitors see. And so
Yes.
we see it every day and we're not, you know, and we're used to it. But when you have a visitor that comes to town and they go use a public facility or pull into a public facility that maybe is not the city, but it's still a public facility, you know, that impression of blight could be there, and the trash especially. And so I just think that the city manager and the clerk and like she said, the staff directors, that everybody can come together and what would make it work for us so that we don't have to keep going around and around, knowing that Burner Road is trashed just about every day. You know, where is that trash coming from? You know, where's the source? And, you know, that's just, you know, or so vandalism. Is there vandalism? I haven't heard of any, but, you know, the bathrooms we took care, at the lake, we took care of some of those issues because they had been vandalized. But how can we make sure that we're really truly welcoming folks? We're trying to draw folks here, you know, for shopping, for
Tough when you come into the
buying,
end of
for-
town and the
Yeah.
Walmart parking lot's trashed and the Bell's parking
It's
lot
every
is
day.
trashed.
Yeah, and so where is it coming from? You
Dollar
know, and
General's
that's,
stacked
or
up
is it
to the
is it
gills.
that garbage cans aren't
Dollar
big
Tree.
enough to hold the trash? Because I do see overflowing trash cans, you know, at different businesses, you know, or maybe there's no trash cans, you know. To me, those are simple things that I think that we could work on.
I think
for-
some of our businesses are victims of like a wind tunnel too.
Yeah.
You know, that they're not
Yeah.
necessarily the producer of the trash,
I
but they
agree.
are where it
I
lands.
agree, I agree.
Yes, but when you walk up to a department store and the door is so filthy, you don't want to touch it. There's something going on with that manager
Yeah.
or the supervisor of that.
Right, and those are
store.
some of the standards that, you know, maybe that those, I don't know what details we have in our ordinances on maintenance, property, or if the lights are out in the parking lot. You know, those are some of the things, especially along the Main Street corridor. I'm just throwing out there that would be one of my goals, to make us look, you know, as good as possible. And how do we accomplish that with ordinances and the personnel that maybe through the CRA we can fund?
Yes, ma'am.
Help to fund, maybe, cost sharing.
Right, well, we do have a new business coming into town on 27th, so we need to follow that all the way through. Clean, you know, you don't want to walk up to a door that's, or a parking lot that you open your car door and there's just trash there.
Yeah, and a lot of times, the CRA, I know we think that this advisory board is just gonna get to spend money on projects, but one of those projects, in my opinion, is looking at the ordinances. You give us feedback, because this is about beautification, it's not, I mean, it is about blighted areas and things, but let's not just stop there, let's go to the next step. How can we keep it looking beautiful after the project's done?
Or make people clean up.
Right.
So no, I think I brought this up at the last meeting. I harp on the same thing over and over, but that's just me. You know, years ago, 15, 20 years ago, we had a workshop, and the commission met, and we had the top two items on our list was code enforcement that we needed to keep it up, and beautification, I think, was the other one.
The landscaping
And I
and the
think it's the same
buildings,
priorities
yeah.
today.
I tell everybody, I said, the code enforcement officer should be the most hated person in town.
He is.
Nobody, no resident of Clewiston should like that
He
guy.
is.
Poor
He
thing.
probably is. And I'm not
I mean, because
knocking
if he's
our
doing
code
his job,
enforcement.
nobody wants to see that guy coming. You're like, oh my gosh, there he is, and you know
Well,
what I
the
mean?
22 people that are on the list for tomorrow's work.
I mean, you've never had that many, I don't think. But the guy works. I mean, the ducks are gone. Chickens, you know, we're very limited. So little by little.
Yeah.
No, it's
Property-
getting done. I'm just saying we may
Oh, no.
need to put someone in part-time for 6 months,
Yeah.
8 months
I agree.
to help.
Yeah.
And then, once we get it where we want it,
There's a couple of properties, though, we've got to hold them
I
accountable.
guess we have a whole police force that can do that too.
All kidding aside, everybody's kind of chipping in and doing their part.
Yeah.
Good.
Tractor trailers, we're making money on those guys because parking in town.
They're still there.
That could be a legitimate revenue stream, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They think 3 months down the road I can come back, but we've been nailing them, so.
Awesome.
I think the accountability is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I know FDOT is fixing to, I don't know when we're on the list. I know it's within the next 2 years. They're going to repave through town.
Yes. Yep.
That's a prime opportunity to tag on some CRA dollars.
Yeah, I
to
think
get
it is
things
Monday.
done we want to get done that they may not pay for.
Right.
Yeah,
I
because
agree.
I've seen a lot of the stakes. I mean, it's part of the main, I mean, they brought us some beautiful plans, you know,
Yep.
for
Yeah.
Main Street.
Yep.
So what is our estimation of like what goes back into the CRA fund every year?
It's, it looks like it's around like 250 to 300,000
I think that Randy said
right now. That's what he's
275,
saying,
yeah.
around 250 to 300.
Okay. Because if that's, I mean, what you just said is literally around the corner, 2 to 3 years, you know? So we may want to use caution and not spend down, you know, all of our CRA funds, knowing that they don't get replenished
Well,
quite
I'm
as quickly
also-
as we would like, you
I'm
know?
also thinking that we can start hitting DOT now. And
Yes.
say, hey, remember this plan?
Yes.
And they may have some things in that they maybe weren't going to, because it would be cheaper to do it while they're here.
Right.
I actually reached out to DOT this morning about a truck route. I said, we got to start talking, guys, so.
And I don't want to call it
We
a
are meeting next Monday, right, Travis?
I don't want to call
Bypass.
it a bypass. I want to call it a truck route because that's
Right.
really the issue that we're having, especially
Yeah.
on Fridays. When you have semis backed up side by side for 2 or 3 red lights, you know, that to me is just, it affects the businesses in town. It really does, because then everybody's in a hurry just to get out of here.
They are doing a
not
traffic
stop.
study.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you
it's-
had
It
mentioned they're
took
doing a
me
traffic study.
like 12 minutes to get across the street from, I was beside First Bank and I just wanted to go. I just turned right and I went all the way, I had to go all the way to the end of town and get to the red light and then I had to sit there. And finally a guy pulled up and stopped and I was like, oh, praise you, mister.
Yeah, at that end of town, I don't think there's an arrow.
No.
Are you talking about on Francisco?
They looked.
That might be beneficial.
They have already looked
Oh,
and said
and they
no.
don't. Because when you want to turn left
But
and
again,
go like towards the lake, it's a pain.
It is, and we can,
And like
and
the
that's
other-
when we told them to come, was during tournaments.
Yeah, and that's what
Yeah.
also Danny
Yeah.
just mentioned. I don't know if y'all heard, and he might have already told everybody, but the DOT is doing a traffic study right now because they were surprised at the amount of traffic that's increased since they were just last here, which I think was in 2023.
Yeah, they did a study.
So,
When we got the new numbers of 27,000,
yeah,
from
daily.
17 to 27.
Yeah,
And it'll
It's
be more than that.
unbelievable.
yeah.
Got a lot going on. New board members.
Okay, any other discussion? Any staff comments? Manager?
Yeah, I've got a meeting with a gentleman tomorrow. It is a kind of a sports bar. It's out, they're from Sebring, and he wants to look at a couple of buildings, and we're going to do that tomorrow. I've also reached out to Winn-Dixie, and they're definitely interested. So I got to follow up with them and see where we are. And I guess you guys know, we've got a new guy in town who's going to push the hotel over, be a golf cart, used car, rental car sales.
Ability.
We got some things at the park. We got a couple of people looking at our Commerce Park. So, and Travis is rewriting a few things about that so we can get those businesses. So, and we kind of talked about that in staff the other day. But there's quite a bit going on. And I did get a compliment on the bathrooms.
Oh, good.
Congratulations. During the tournament, said they look really good. They were very nice. So I thought that was good. I meant to tell you that, but forgot. But anyway.
That
And
bathroom
the ball
building would
fields,
make a cute mural.
getting a lot of compliments on the ball fields.
Yeah, ball fields
Another
look good.
thing. So things are turning, but it's going to take time. But
I got a question.
love to hear all the negative because that's what we got to hear to figure it out.
I know I talked about the sidewalks. The sidewalk behind Central Elementary School,
Right.
in between Seminole Manor and,
That is on our list.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's
people are,
one of
they're
the
calling me
phases.
nonstop, man. We got kids walking this path every morning.
Is
There's
this
no
where the sidewalk like ends?
Yeah.
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 So you
that's-
got Orchard
There
Park.
was money.
Orchard
Like,
Park
there
all the way
was
down
Safe
to-
Route to Schools
Well,
money.
they're doing, I think it's,
Nora,
well, yeah, but they're also doing over by the, oh gosh, by the beauty salon. Oh gosh, what's that, El Paso?
But it doesn't include that piece?
Yeah, it's part of it.
Oh,
It's
okay.
one of them. We also, DeSoto Avenue in that area also. There's three locations.
That would be good,
Awesome.
because people do call about that, especially that particular piece.
Yep, that stretch right there. There's a lot of kids that go down that stretch every morning.
Yeah,
That's the way that
it's a busy-
I take my kid. And I
Yeah.
come in from the back there, and there's a ton of kids walking.
Okay, any other questions? Anything else, manager?
No, I'm good.
Dylan's on the phone.
Dylan, you there?
Hey guys.
You have any comments today?
No comments. Excited to hear the discussion about CRA. Been working with city staff recently and pursuing some ordinance updates that hopefully you guys will see in the next few months. Nice to see everyone. Hope everyone has a good morning and a great rest of your week.
Okay, thank you. Commission comments, Commissioner Edmonds?
I think driving through town, we want people to stop on 27 and our main corridor. And we need to make sure that the businesses are accountable for keeping their parking lots and their businesses clean. And just the whole beautification thing would make people want to stop. Or they're like, hey, Clewiston's a nice little town, you know? So that's important to me.
Commissioner Gardner?
Just to say, I'm just going to follow up. I know we brought up a lot of things today that we need to work on, and I think it's important that it looks like we're all in agreement about when we love Clewiston, we want to make sure these projects get done. And, you know, I know some of these projects have taken forever. And so I know that Danny's focused, along with staff, to get some of this stuff done. And I think once this happens and we do some of the infrastructure work that we've approved already, plus with the new advisory board and the ordinance changes that Dylan was just talking about, I really believe it's all coming together. But I know that's because what Danny's been doing, you know, not just at the meetings, but behind the scenes, you know, collaborative approach to get this done. And we're all, you know, pulling in the same direction, you know, for our town. So I'm thankful for that, very thankful that where we're at with Danny's help.
Commissioner Williams?
I'm glad that we are going to restructure this whole thing, man. It was a little bit blown up. I'm glad we're going to build it back from the bottom up. I'm excited. I think we put together a good group, which we'll find out next week. I think they're going to do a really good job for the CRA advisory board. I'm pumped. I second what Commissioner Gardner said. Danny's doing a great job. I hear every day more and more stuff that he's getting done and who he's working with, and I'm excited about it. So props to him for sure.
Can I add one more thing? I forgot. I'm going to reach out to a hotel group. I've found out who I got to talk to at the state level. So I'll be working on that this week on a couple of our hotels, see if we can either clean them up or shut them down. So that's what my goal is. So hopefully they get that message.
The motels?
for that.
Yep, a couple of them. So
Yeah, I think when you had to talk about blight, I mean, that's,
it is what it is, like you guys just said.
Especially
And we
nuisance
can't continue
places.
something that's in the heart of our town or our downtown corridor or, so I don't mind they know because I'm sure I'll be visiting their sites.
thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
That's good news.
Commissioner, Vice Mayor Hyslop?
Mayor Pittman, I don't have anything to add that hasn't already been said, so.
Okay. No, I'm in concurrence and agree. I'm excited about what's happening and fixing to happen, and I think our new CRA advisory board is going to be awesome. The only other thing I want to bring up is the changing of the insurance agent. I think that should be a commission decision together discussed, and I do appreciate staff's work on recommendation of a new agent, but I'd like to talk about that at a meeting once we find out something about the proposed new agent. I don't think we've ever just picked someone without meeting them. So after thinking about it, after talking to the clerk and Danny, I'd like your feedback from the commission about what your thoughts are.
I know that in the past, Mayor, that the only way to get other quotes on insurance, that you had to do the change of agents. Because I know when we went with the League of Cities, that was one of the issues that we had discussed. I can't remember the process that we went through exactly, but I know that for us to make that change, I think we had to make the change. I mean, it had to be done at a staff level. I think we probably discussed it at a budget workshop, and I know that we're not at the budget time yet, but I think it's, for us to look at it, I think would be important. But also, I think it's a good discussion to have, but I know that we've done it before in the past when we went to the League of Cities. And I know in the private sector, that's the only way to get new quotes. So it's a standard business
to drop your
procedure.
current.
Yeah, to do a change of agent, to get it a different perspective. Because I know I've done it in the private sector, and I know we've done it here at the city when we went to the League of Cities, that they had to have a change of agent to get that information. So that's the only way to do it.
And for me personally, I think that, like staff reaching out to get some, different takes, different perspectives, different offers from, other folks, or at least begin to work on that process. I think it's important. The conversation that I had was basically centered around, maybe we don't pay as well, maybe we don't, have as many amenities for someone to consider moving here to, go to work for the city or whatever. So how do you make up some of that stuff? And it's in great benefits,
Yeah,
So if we have the opportunity to provide staff better benefits at the same or less of a cost, out of their pocket.
Oh, I'm in agreement. I just don't think we've ever changed agents without a meeting, that's all. If that's the only way to get a quote, and that would be your expertise, then that's fine with me. But I would say they need to do it sooner than later.
I'm glad you mentioned that. And is there any way, how many times can we change of agent? Is there a time limit on changing an agent to get different quotes? There's not, I mean, looking at Ashley, I know she has experience, and I know Lakeisha does too, but there's not a limit. So
Well, I'm all for
we could
quoting
continue
everything
to
we
change
have.
to get another quote.
The one thing about the Gurin Group, when Ashley and I met with them, is when they come, and if you would like to meet with them before, I can set up a meeting for you all to meet. That's not a problem. But what they're going to do, they're literally going to give us a spreadsheet in regards to what we have, and then have multiple that we can compare to. So again, I just have experience with them. So I may be a little biased, but we did meet with Ashley, myself, Melissa, who will be over us. She will have our city, and they literally gave us the plan. As I gave you all the list of their already clients, which is more than 120 cities in the state of Florida they represent, and also the services that they provide. But if you would like to speak with them before, we could make that possible.
Yeah, I would like a presentation.
Okay.
That's what we've done in the past when we've changed agents. I think it's a good practice. I mean,
No problem. I'll make that happen.
it's rare that we do it. It doesn't happen every year, but.
No, it doesn't happen
5
every
or
year.
I mean, the League of Cities was a while back.
Can you add 'em,
And I think it was United
to the
Healthcare, but
next?
they did offer us a better rate, but the United Healthcare doesn't have the same offerings in the area as Blue Cross Blue Shield is what
Yeah,
we came to find
We have
out.
to have Blue
Yeah.
Cross, so it's,
Yeah.
we might can have something else with it, but we've learned in our
That-
area that that's,
And that's no problem, because they can keep Blue Cross, but they can see if Blue Cross have different plans, a better plan for us as a whole. So,
And then the other thing, when we spoke, and we spoke about the health insurance, I did not know we were changing our investment agent also. And so that was something also, we had two different agents for a long time, and then we combined it to one agent, but they're gonna have to bring their investment experience too, because our current agent, Ms. Rosen, is done very well for us with the group that she uses. And I know they might can use the same group, but we are actually doing very well with our investments on our retirement. And so anyway, I would like those, what can they do for us as well? So that's just my input
that's good.
on it.
That's
That's
good,
good.
and we understand that, and I understood when the decision was made, when you have gotten someone and been with them a while and have started a relationship with them, it's hard sometimes to start dating someone else. But unless you date someone else, you might not know you didn't have anything. So that's what we're going to do, and I'll make sure that the Goering Group have a presentation for you. If they can't get it by next Monday, we'll set up a time, and even if we have to do a workshop, then we'll do that. To
And
make
I'm,
sure that
I'm
you're
willing to do as
comfortable.
many workshops as we need to find, the right group for the city of Clewiston employees and for the taxpayers of Clewiston, that
Ma'am.
we're getting the best that we possibly can.
And that's what the decision was made off of. The decision was made off, let's look, because I've worked with smaller towns, and I'm just gonna be honest, that had a better insurance packet than you all did with 120 people. So that's what really made me say, you know what? Let's go out and actually see what other things could be done for the town of Clewiston. And that's what the decision was about. What's better for you all as taxpayers and as citizens and as employees.
And I appreciate that. I want to do the same thing with our liability,
Yes, ma'am.
which we did it recently in the last 3 or 4 years, and PRM was still the best.
Yep.
But with today's rates going up daily,
And if I'm not mistaken, I'm glad you brought that up about PRM, there's certain timeframes that we would have to notify them. I think the last time we ran into a problem when there was a huge increase in our premium,
Yeah.
that you had to have, it was longer than 30 days from what I remember, or it
It's
was like
60.
60 days,
I
yeah.
think it's 60.
So I think that those are all good things to look at this time before, as we go into the budget.
Okay, so I'll get with Brandy and Ashley and Danny and myself and Lynn, and we'll come up with what we need to look at.
okay, good.
Mayor, I got one more thing.
All right. I'm
It's been
glad.
bugging me.
Yeah, get that computer run, spit out that,
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Montura,
we're talking dogs now, right?
yeah,
Oh, I'm all in.
okay. That's kind of what I want to know, because
It's
the
knock 'em
letter's
off.
written.
Is that an all in or an all out?
Let's kick them out.
Well,
Service 4 square miles, and that's it.
I think that's what we got to look at. We're overcrowded. They do a great job, but I think it's a little too much for us, and it's on the taxpayer. We're getting a lot of criticism, which I don't like, which they're doing a great job, and it's just people that are trying to, they won't go away. They might for a month or two, but then they're back.
Relentless.
And I think it's time to, that letter's written also. It's on my desk. So if I get the go from you guys, we'll send the letter and we'll
Has
talk to the
Randy
county.
looked at it from a financial perspective?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
That's-
That was my
that's
concern,
why
and I know that
we're-
I appreciate the follow-up from the chief, now that you mentioned it, about the mile, at the time involved, because I was really surprised on just the portion that I received. I know there was still additional information that we were going to be getting, but for my question from the last meeting, I'm glad you brought it up, but because it is a lot of time, and especially when it takes two officers to address that
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah, I think it's time to do something, and I think Montura just needs to take care of Montura. I think they're at that point. They got quite a few people, and they got a board, so
Yep,
they need to start making their own decisions and figuring it out.
And you may have already done this, Tom, but I'd like to see kind of a report of how many dogs come from, and cats, come from outside the city limits west and then outside east. I don't know if it's that detailed.
Started breaking down that data, but
I mean, it's got to be over 50% come from out of the city.
our staff estimate that the dog population that
There you go.
Wow.
I think we could save a position too.
Yeah,
Okay.
No, I agree. I mean, I think,
you
yeah.
have your answer.
all right,
Thank you,
good,
Tom.
good. I'll send a letter with a phone call.
Yeah, I mean, it's, there's no animosity. It's just, we can't handle it anymore.
We can't handle it anymore.
And as we get more people moving in here, it's going to go up even more.
Yep.
And
Well, and most of the new people are moving in
Out
in
there.
Ventura.
Yeah, there's a
So-
lot of growth out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good
I
deal.
would, y'all can meet, I mean, I agree with the letter.
The call.
And then give them a time certain.
It's 60 days. Also, it's in the contract. I got the
Well, 60
contract.
days that we
Time certain
notified,
that
right.
we're not
Oh,
gonna-
yeah,
But for the
It
new
might be
budget
end of the
year.
budget year,
Yeah.
like
Sure.
September 30th, or
Right,
Yeah, I would think the
whatever you
budget year
decide
to
is
make it
fine.
right.
Y'all can get together and
will be nice.
give them time to come up with a plan. If they may want to build a building, they may want to, I
Right.
don't know what they're going to want to do.
Yep.
And I'm not even opposed to help. If it's going to take them X number of months to build a building,
Sure,
we can still work with them.
Yeah.
They need to know for certain they're going to pay their share until their facility opens.
right.
And maybe even more. If we're at 90%, then they need to pay 90%. They're only paying 66%.
Right.
So that'll be the other end of it. After the letter, it's going to go up, the percentage,
Yep.
my opinion.
Right on.
Agreed.
Talk to Randy about that.
Yes, we'll get, yep, we'll make sure.
Okay, anything else?
No,
You good?
I got more, but
Are you sure? For Monday night. Save it for Monday night.
You got anything, Travis? I didn't talk to you or Ashley. Y'all good? Okay.
Travis, I have a question. When the helicopters, I was asked recently about the helicopters. Do you don't get notification when they're coming in, like in the middle? Or,
Only if it's,
okay,
we will know about it.
okay.
It's,
But
hospital. Most
over
of it-
this past week, there was just, it was
It's
just
all
all hospital.
hospital-related.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Just
hospital.
wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
I moved.
All right, we're adjourned.
Good job.
Thank you, guys.